everybody. Happy New Year 2022. Oof, it goes fast. So my name is still Celine. I'm still a Janome educator for Janome Canada. And I hope you had some Janome gift this past Christmas. I hope you had that, okay? And I said, oh, they're going to be still in the mood of a party, so I will not teach something very hard. So I'll teach you something soft, but very important. Everything that concerns Janome is always very important. So I will turn the camera to show you the project. So you see my luminous lamp is here, my camera is in front of me, and it's in between my face and the sewing machine, so it's not that easy. So I'll switch the camera. Okay, so today what I wanted to show you, to teach you, to remind you, okay, is the difference between three stitches that looks the same, but they don't have the same, they have the similar use, but they're different anyway. Utility stitch, decorative stitch, decorative stitch. So why do they look like each other? So you see, this is one single thread. It's like two rows of straight stitch with a zigzag in between. Then we have this one here, which looks thicker, but it's the same thread, but it went over twice. So it's darker because it goes over a few times. And this one, the last one, is even thicker because it goes over 4 times here and 6 times here. So they're different. They look at the same, but they don't have the, how should I say, we can use them in different option, okay? So I'll start with the utility stitch. So today I'm using the Skyline S9, but whatever I tell you here, it's for any Janome machine, any or every, I don't know which word I should use. You know, the pictogram, I'm sorry, I'll turn. So this is the pictogram I will use, 17 on this machine, but maybe on another model, Janome model, sorry, it's another number. Just remember the pictogram or the picture. Okay, sorry, I took a sip of water because I don't want to cough in front of you. Okay, so what the machine tells me, says, okay, use foot A. The stitch is already pre-programmed with the better width and length that suits to this stitch. But if you're not happy, and if the reaction of the fabric doesn't suit you, don't be afraid to touch. You cannot break the machine, okay? Touch the arrow and you have more adjustment you can do. Of course, it's in French, but you can set the width, the length of the stitches, the tension, and the height of the foot. Okay, so to sew we need thread. I'm gonna start with this, and when I say something, when I show you something, it's because people or write me or ask Janome. So what is the difference between, no, I'll move between those three? And you know, this is really important, but really, you can have a problem with the machine just because you don't use the proper tool. That's all. It's not, the machine is not broken. The machine is not, it's not a bad, you call that, I think, a lemon. No, it's not this. You know, the lemon is me. Okay, I say me because I don't want to say you. it's, you know, I want to say it's a bad use. Okay, I'll start with a regular spool of thread, Janome spool of thread. This one is polyester. Yeah, okay. So you have a thread holder here, and you have to be careful. You don't want to cut the thread in between the thread holder. So you see, the thread has to be squeezed in between, but not the thread between and the spool of thread and the spool holder. I'm trying to get you the best picture I can. Okay, so this way the thread, the bobbin will not move, the spool of thread will not move, the thread will go around. Let's find the end of the thread. Okay, so you see, the bobbin doesn't move. So maybe you'll say, I do the same thing and my thread is cutting sometimes. Maybe, you see, this is Iris from Janome, is the distributor for Iris product. When I have a smaller spool, you see the size between the two of them? Don't use the big thread holder. Why? The thread goes around, and especially if you go fast, it's going to burn your thread. It's going to, so it'll create the thread breaking. So small spool holder. Okay? Then, and these are important information. It's the basic, okay? And then sometimes you use those big spool, okay? I'm not sure if we say spool or in French is cone. Aha! Of course, we can use this one, but we have better. This is not long. This is new, but new just a few years. Look at this. You'll end up with no problem. So you say, oh, no, Celine, I'm doing something better. Instead of having these to your left, I'm using this to go inside. Well, you see, you have room to cut the thread. It's not the proper tool. It always depends what the company use as, can I slide this in? You see, problem. So, where is my, here? So, no problem. Okay? And, you know, when you buy a sewing machine, we look the front of the machine, huh? Really rare that we're looking at the back of the machine. But at the back, it comes like this. There's two screws built in your sewing machine. And those screws are to hold spool stand. I have the 2 spool stand here, but you can have a 5 spool stand. A stand with 5 spool holder, I should say, yeah? Okay? And you have to choose, but the screws are the same place for the 2 others. So if you use this, here your thread is feed horizontally, while at the back it's vertically. When I use a spool stand, I have a thread guide that comes with my machine because with the spool stand, because I need to come here before you go to thread with the regular spool stand. Do you know what this is? Anti-kick. So that prevents the thread from kicking. It's built in. If you don't have this model or these model, well, it's okay. You cannot add it, but this is something. You know, when we buy a machine, how many stitch? Is it Wi-Fi? We don't think of this. We don't think of the screw out at the back. We don't think of everything, but these are so important. So this is guide, a thread guide, but there's a hole here. The hole is, I'll show it to you because people are always surprised with this. Second spool of thread, and it is always located in your extension table or your accessory box. You see that little notch here? Look at that. And people say, I didn't know it was going there. So, second spool of thread, if you want to sew with twin needles, and the location is in your extension or extension box. I hope I have the right word. Okay, so this is a slow start. Now I'm going to thread my machine and we're going to sew. You know, you always thread your machine with the foot up. This machine has a thread guide number 7. Here we go, it's finished. And under the foot, in my thread holder, from the front to the back. From the back to the front, you cut. And this stitch is overlock stitch in the utilitarian section or category. You have it here. So what I did for all the stitches, I did 9mm, 7mm, 5mm. But you see, it is thin. So it says it's for overlock. Okay, I'll do it. Overlock. So I did it before because I was teaching into French. Now, this is a knit fabric. And we sew on the wrong side of the fabric, right sides together. And there's my favorite way of sewing. I'll show it to you and you'll decide. So my stitch is, I choose my stitch, okay? And then I'm sewing the width of the foot. I'm using start stop because I already removed the foot control. Okay? So the machine is sewing and doing the overlock at the same time. I'm going to do a lock stitch to finish the sequence, and I'll show you another. People say, hey, what am I going to do with this here? Oh, you want to sew really on the side of the fabric? You want to finish your fabric right away? Okay, so what I want to do is, you don't stretch your fabric, huh? You push it to make sure. So there's two ways. Lock stitch to finish the sequence, cut the thread. Okay, look, I hope you see the difference. Looking for my scissors. Oh, very nice, Celine. Oh, okay. Okay, so the difference between of them is I have, you see how flat it is, how weavy it is, and you don't want this. People say, oh, I'm going to iron it. Of course, it's going to be flat. As soon as you wash it or wear it, it's going to curl again. So this is made, the best way of doing it is, see, if you calculate this, here you have your 5/8, your seam allowance. And then, just to show you, then you're clipping the excess. You be careful not clipping the thread. And seam allowance is nice, flat, right on the side. Look at this, perfect. So this one also, it looks good. It looks good, but you don't like that weavy, look at this, bumpy. Okay, we don't want that. That's why a serger, but if you have a serger, The serger is thread in black, and you need a pink this time for not long. Well, the stitches are there, so you can use it. So overlock, we're okay. This is the utility stitch. I did it here. I don't know if the one who have my age, and I won't tell you my age, but I have gray hair. So you see, overlock, overlock, because the 3 stitches that I want to show you, I put them here all. So this is a little mat from 2010. Can you believe this? It came with the 7700. Okay, the design is there, but it is a stretch fabric. So look at this. So I top stitch as decoration, and I did the overlock at the same time. So you see a second utility. And if you want, you can change the width and the length of the stitches. But keep in mind, you don't want them too close, because when you wear your garment, you don't want, if it's too close, you're going to break your thread while you wear it. And another thing I did here, same thing. So this is woven. Look, decorative stitch, overlock stitch at the same time. But here there's something I don't like. You see the bump inside? It's round inside the width of the stitch. It's because the stitch is too wide for the thickness of the thread. No problem with Janome. So look what I did. I decreased the width of the stitch, and I did the overlock anyway. Okay. So you see, with Janome, there's never a problem, always a solution. And you saw this mat. I always present you the mat, but now I'll remove the work to explain better to you. So, no, this side. Okay. And with my utility stitch that I can change the width and the length if I want, I can also sew a ribbon, soutache. Well, you know, I don't know all the words, but you can insert something nice. I will keep ribbon, okay? But this time I'll need to change my foot, because my utility stitch becomes a decorative stitch. And the back of the A foot is flat, while the F foot is lower in the center, which allow the ribbon and the stitches to feed evenly. I hope 2022 I'll speak better English. Okay, so now I'm in decorative stitch with the same stitch. So you say, oh, well, how I'm going to do this? You know, how am I going to sew? Well, underneath, you want to do this. Good luck. I have a better trick. When you do something, you always need you need a practice. I always practice with little, I prepare some fabric to practice, you know, with interfacing and all this. So what did I do? Insert, always cut in the bias. Insert over the foot, the F foot. Okay. And then make sure, oh, I love these tweezers. For sure I love them. It's Janome tweezers. I understand now. Think I'm in love. Okay. My ribbon is 6 millimeter. And see, I don't want to sew my ribbon. So I can enlarge or decrease the width. I'm still going to decrease it to show you something different. but I don't want to sew my ribbon. Lock stitch, finish the sequence, cut the thread, cut the ribbon. On the bias, you don't want it to ravel. And, well, that I have no clue how you say in English. In French, the word is passe-galon. So it's free inside, you see? Very nice. So then you say, well, I have the ribbon and sequin foot that you can use. Yeah, okay, no problem. But if you don't have it, you're not stuck. You can use this one. But if you want to use a really narrow ribbon, you need, trust me, you need that foot and the upper opening. I showed it to you in a previous demonstration. If you don't use it without, it won't slide. I'm just pulling to show you that it's sliding, but it's really hard to do because you can catch it. Now I'm okay, but I'll do it better. I don't want to pull it out, but just to show you that it is sliding. See? Okay. And then you say, oh, no, hold on. I'm going to, I'm going to sew just the stitch. And what I'm showing you, you can do with the other stitches. This type of stitch is just one thread, so it's weak, but it worked out no problem. But I prefer to use it with another stitch that I'll show you right after. Okay, look what I did. So I have, it's not a needle, it's round, flat here to go under the stitches, and the hole is on the side. And then what do you do? Whatever you want, okay? One on top, one under, one on top, two on top, two under, 3, 2, whatever you want, the way you want to do it. There you go. See? You be careful when you buy ribbon, huh? Sometimes there's right side, sometimes there's wrong side of the ribbon. Some is more satin and the other one. So you see, this is with the sewing machine, regular, and this one here is with by hand. You can play with the numbers. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. It depends the look you want to give to your... So what I showed you, it can work with the other stitch, the other stitches. This time I'm coming. This is utility stitches. And then romantic is heirloom. So you see, you have a French lesson at the same time of the sewing lesson. I'm choosing stitch 5 or 6. These are, so the name of these stitches, it's called ladder stitches. Even this one, which was overlock, it's a kind of ladder stitches. Okay. Okay. Look what happened. F foot. Oh, and it changed my stitch width. Stitch length is always the same. But you cannot use 5mm width because of the width of my my ribbon. So what was nice was 8. So I'll do 2 different ones. Same thing. I insert the ribbon over. I pull it out with my Janome tweezers. Okay. And then, whoops, make sure you're in the center, and make sure you don't catch your ribbon. I'm gonna move a little bit behind. You need to start straight. If you don't start straight, so you see I don't have a specific foot. I'm using my F foot over the F foot. See, I'll go slow. Oh, what did I do? Oh no, I pressed the wrong button. I want to go slow and I didn't do it right. I'm going slow now, sorry. So you see, it's over. I'm going over. I'll stop. This is what I wanted to do before. But this is up because of the bar. That's why I prefer F2 than F. I prefer F regular than F2. Okay, so let's go until the end. Okay, lock stitch, scissors, clip the ribbon. Okay, so you see, it's like, whoops, it's like I pulled too hard. I'll take it here. So you see, it's sliding. It's a casing. A casing. I found the word. Okay, casing. Then you say, it's too even. I like to do something different. You know, if you use a thick thread, maybe you want to insert differently. So again, we're going to slide it in. Oh, and I say ribbon, you can do it in elastic casing. Huh? So in case of an elastic, I would choose this instead of the first one we use, because this is stronger than the first overlock stitch. See, one over, one under, one over, one under, or 2 over, 2 under, or 2, 2, 3. You know, you do what you want. It's yours. And it doesn't take much to practice. Look at this. You see? And one thing that you don't want to have too much of the other fabric underneath. You don't want to see too much, but you don't want it too narrow neither. If it's too narrow, you won't be able to weave it, to slide it. So see, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2 under, 2 on top, 2 under, whatever you feel like doing. It's decorative. So Valentine is coming. You want to start to sew something for Valentine, huh? So it will be like something more softer, I should say. So this is one of the good option. Oh no, I didn't show you the last one. Oh. Okay, I'll use another square. So my squares to test are 3 inches by 3 inches. But this time, oh no, change the stitch, Celine. Hey, yeah. I want to see too much at the same time. Okay, I'm going very wide. Okay, and now I'm going fast, but I'll slow down. Okay, so you see, the stitch in the center, it's stitching 4 times. On the side, 6 times. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it's coming back. But I was counting the center. On the side, it's 6 times. So let's finish this. And this time, I cannot weave something in between. So if you want to sew and you want it real strong, That's the stitch. It's gonna clip the thread, cut the thread, finish. Okay, so you see what I did here? So again, 9mm, 7mm, because some of you that are watching those lives, they have a 7mm machine, same thing, even 5mm machine. Okay, and here I am, these are stitched, I can't move them, you see, because they're loose on the side, but in the center it's going 4 times stitching, so for sure it is strong. So if, depending of your fabric, let's say you want to do an overlock. Look at this. This is stronger than before, huh? And look at the back, and again I changed the width. Look at the back. It's overlock and sewn at the same time. So this one is stitch, utility stitch, ladder stitch single, and ladder stitch 4 times. Okay, same thing here. This is woven fabric. So if I want a real nice overlock stitch, I have to be careful how to align it. Okay, so I'm going to guide here. Okay. So it's made my decoration and the overlock at the same time. But this time I'm sewing on the right side of the fabric. If I want to decorate, it's while the first stretchy, I'll stop. While this is done on the wrong side of the fabric, when you want to do a real overlock. So utility stitch can become a decorative stitch, and decorative stitches have multiple use, more than just one. You have to experiment. I'm almost over. I have one more thing to show you. Oh, while it's sewing, I'm going to show you. Do you realize that I sew with a blue tip needle? Okay, blue tip needle, my fabric is thin, no problem. Janome has also red tip needle for thicker fabric or thicker thread. And when I'm using 9mm stitches and to prevent skip stitches, purple needle is the best. I'll move the camera after and I'll show you something else. So I'm almost finished. Okay. This one is really strong, really. Look at the overlock. But this one, it's perfectly strong. This is weaker, more strong, and very strong. So I'll put this here to show you. I'll move the camera. So this is an exercise panel to understand stitches and play with stitches. Okay, but look what I did all the way around. The triple ladder, the last one I just made. Look at it, made me the overlock at the back all the way. So it's very clean and decorative at the same time and strong. So you have, it always depends what you want to create. While the camera is there, you remember all these. I use the, I showed you the spool of thread from Janome Distribute Iris thread. This is what I use. What I showed you before, iris thread. We have it's polyester, and we have quilting. The box is you have half of quilting thread and half of embroidery thread. Of course, I'm always using my thread, my Oh, I don't know. I'm looking for the word. My mallette in French. My French is so good, you have no idea. A carrying case, I should say, for all my feet with 3 level. I always use my Janome scissors. And also, about the needles, it's on the wall. So you can download this from from the Janome website. So of course, if you go to janome.ca, you have it in French and English. And on janome.com, you have in English. Okay? So I hope you're going to use those 3 stitches. And I also hope that it wasn't too hard for the first demonstration of the year. I'll switch the camera. Yes, it's me. Okay, yeah, it's still me. Okay, my luminous lamp is there and the camera is right in the front of me. So again, I thank you for watching, and I wish you a very, very 2022 full of nice sewing because of our teaching. See you next week, everybody. Have a good week. Bye-bye.